Welcome back to the Backyard Basketball Podcast.
Liquid smoke.
Presented by the Ordinary Podcasting Network. I am Braden Dalla-Coltman. I am joined by Christian Steck. What's going on?
Welcome. I just recognize that you say a lot of welcomes in the opening. I love it.
I want to welcome everybody.
Well, me too. I wanted to add a couple more welcomes to myself. Welcome to the Backyard Basketball Pod. Yo, I'm doing good, man. It's been some fun basketball going on.
Yeah, fun weeks in basketball. I want to know from you, first and foremost, how are you feeling about your 2-5 Boston Celtics?
I'm glad. I'm really glad that we're getting into Boston right now. I hope all the listeners that listen to this podcast enjoy that. We talk a lot of Boston here. I'm sure some of you maybe now or soon will become displeased with the amount of Boston talk, but here we go. We're talking Boston. Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, really good. Marcus Smart, he's the leader. He said something today to those guys, like, pass the damn ball, essentially, is what I was getting the vibe of, because they're hogging the ball. And
he said, I can only do so much standing in the corner.
Well, yeah, he needs his fair share of freak out offensive. I'm just going to take this impulse shot. And all of us are screaming, no. And every now and then it occasionally goes in. But he's got to get his number. I don't know. What is it, like 6 or 7 a game? That just give us these heart attack moments. He's always done it in his career as part of the character of why Boston fans love Marcus Smart. I don't think much about the whole segment, they were talking about today with him in regards to the other guys. I think it's just in the locker room. Hey, let's pick it up and need a focus. There's just no clear focus, I feel like, right now. You got a new coach as well, too. It's like a dance. You're getting to know each other. You know what I mean? Like,
but these guys have known each other for a while. Yeah, well, you're right. The coach is new, and that adds a new system and new plays and stuff like that. But these guys,
let me refrain. I think it's like new in the sense of what their positions are in their role in this team. Like, okay, Brown and Tatum are, looked at as the leaders, and they're young. So you've got a young leadership around a bunch of guys, and you got these younger guys as well too. Like, they've really kind of engaged more with, having Nesmith in minutes and Robert, Williams and, some of these younger picks, Pritchard, like these guys that come underneath behind the front line off the bench. Like, I think for them, it's a lot of growing pains. And I think for Tatum and Brown in the position that they're in, seeing the whole restructuring of the Boston organization, even in the front office, a big shift like that, I think has some sort of, aforementioned effect on a team. And this happenstance of the Boston Celtics we're seeing this season is just the way that it's playing out so far. I wouldn't freak out to be hesitant going later on in the season that they'll catch their stride. But I will say that, the East is looking to be really damn competitive. So
absolutely.
I mean, who knows where they fare? They could very well be, a 7, 6 through 8 seed, maybe even a play-in. I mean, depending on how the dice rolls.
So you're not saying they have anything to worry about right now?
Nothing to worry about. Yeah.
I mean, yeah. I was saying to you earlier, like the media kind of cut off this statement right in the middle of his statement, which was, him expressing his frustration, wanting these guys to get the ball moving. The ISO really shuts down offenses, and it's not, if other teams know what's going to come and they know that Jaylen or Jason are going to ISO, then obviously you need to kind of switch things up to get them moving that defense around, moving the ball around so that they've got those open shots. What they ended up doing though in that statement, he was saying, I want these guys to pass the ball. And then he said, I'm really proud of them from learning and growing. They're still young. However, is this something though that you want your players saying in the media? Like, is this some, you know what I mean? Like you're Brad Stevens. This is your team. You've kind of constructed this team. If you're Brad Stevens, and what's your reaction here? I mean, I think Brad Stevens did have a reaction to it. But if you're the GM of a team like this, you know that they're going to get back on the right track. Is this helpful? What do you say to Marcus Smart?
Well, because he's your leadership. He's your emotional, he's the heart of the team. And so I think you want a rawness. And sometimes, like any great team you've seen, there's always a guy who's a little bit, provocative in maybe what he says or expresses himself. But it really represents kind of, I think, the undercurrent of what this whole team is feeling collectively in the locker room. So I wouldn't discredit it at all. If you saw other players start to make, comments that were a bit unrelated to kind of, just their usual character, that seems out of line, then maybe it could take more consideration. But right now, and the more that I'm thinking about this too, dude, I think it's just the defense. The defense really needs to set in because there's so many things that open up for this Boston team in transition. And that needs to be their identity. That's what I'm not seeing right now. Is I'm not seeing a really cohesive identity of what this Celtics team is going to be this season.
Well, you're also and so that's why maybe I'm not make shots, right? Like they had seven points in the fourth quarter against that big comeback Bulls game. No, they had 11 points in the fourth quarter. You can't win a game that way.
No, man. No, not at all. So
you're not worried though, is what you're saying. You're not too worried.
No,
they're going to right the ship.
I picked them over at 45.5 and
we're only freaking 7 games in.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not scared. It's like I'm on the ship and there's like some sort of like Coast Guard sailor guy at the end of the ship who's like leaning over, and I see he's like a little distressed, and I'm kind of looking at him and just like, I'm still kind of focused on like, I'm getting to my destination, but there's this thing in the back of my mind. I'm like, why is that guy working on the ship distressed? What's going on?
They haven't won at home yet.
So yeah. Well, they will. They will eventually. So,
all right. I want to know if there's any other teams here that you think have something to worry about with their start. I want to just draw light to the Pistons, the Pacers, the Magic. We all know they're kind of going to be there. That's not something that we're concerned about. The Thunder, the Pelicans, maybe the Rockets. Again, we're not too concerned, but I want to talk about some of these fringe teams. We've got the Suns who are on a 2-3 start, the Clippers 2-4, the Bucks are 3-4, and the Blazers are 3-4. These are the teams that I want to kind of focus on.
Okay.
Are these teams here going to make an impact sooner than later? Well, or are they going to continue to kind of have the shaky start that they've seen so far?
Okay. We got to start with Milwaukee first, because I just saw an article saying that Chris Middleton has COVID, so he's out for a period of time. I know there's been some injuries or ailments that the team's had too. So, I saw Oscar Robertson speak earlier today, and he's just like, this Milwaukee team can win if they're healthy. And that's what they're struggling with right now. So I think that's kind of maybe what's akin to the slow start that we are seeing from them. And that's always a variable. Every team is, embattled with injury, or will be at some point in the season. It's just an unfortunate circumstance of the league, right? Sure. So, I think, we'll see how Milwaukee, recuperates. We'll see how Chris Middleton comes back and recuperates. It's a long season, depending on how things go. If things roll the right way, there'll be a higher seed. Maybe there'll be a middle of the pack. But the cool thing about Milwaukee is you could be a middle of the pack seed, make it into the playoffs. And even if you didn't have that home court advantage, which is really nice to have that home court advantage, you could still go all the way to the finals and win it all because you're that good of a team. I strongly just believe that. I think Giannis is the best player in the league. somebody has to come down, take the throne from Giannis, and it's not happened yet. We'll see at the end of the year. So, okay. Do you have any tidbits on Milwaukee? Any thoughts you had of the Bucks?
Yeah, just that I still think that Giannis is a dominant force. If, like you're saying, those pieces aren't there, though, it's not going to work. You know, he's not going to be able to ride the team on his own like Luka can.
Yeah.
So,
my boy,
I want to see Milwaukee. Turn things around. Yeah, I'm not saying turn things around. They're only like 3 games back from first place because we're just started. We just started. But I guarantee you, a 3-game losing streak is not what Milwaukee has in mind.
Sure, that's brutal.
Yeah. But they can. Yeah, they can look to their other green team and, you know, see that a 3-game losing streak is just,
you know what,
par for the course.
We can stop. You're putting you're putting thorns in my side today, bud. All right. They're fine. The Celtics are A-okay. Nobody freak out.
They're great. They're great in 12th place.
So, all right. Portland.
Yeah, let's talk Portland. So they're 3-4 as well. They're on a 2-game losing streak, and everybody's raising concern about Damian Lillard's 3-point percentage. That's not my concern. My concern is, are the Portland Trailblazers going to be able to have enough oomph to carry on this season in the win column?
No. Maybe they'll get off a decent amount of wins in the regular season, but this team doesn't stand a chance in the playoffs. They're just dead fish in the water. They've been for a couple seasons. They don't have it. This team does not have it the way that is constructed.
They have not been dead in the water the last couple seasons.
They're dead in the water. They are dead.
The last couple seasons.
When have they gotten out of this? Was it the second round of the playoffs?
That's not dead in the water. You think that's dead in the water?
How old's Dame Lillard? He's like 31 now as a point guard. Just with his skill set right now, the clock is ticking, clickety tick, and you got all these other teams in the West that I just would look up in the 7-game series against Portland and just decimate them. And one of those teams would be the Phoenix Suns that are 2-3. So, I don't believe in this Portland team, man. I don't believe in it. I don't believe in first-year head coach.
Chauncey just needs to dress up. He needs to get on the court.
Maybe they would. No, that's not the problem. Yeah. That's a crazy question too. Is like, what is it that they need?
Well, they need players to be healthy. This is the thing we keep coming back to. Nurkic cannot have a season where he is not injured.
If they had like an Evan Mobley type on their team,
well, that's just it. So they've got Larry Nance Jr. now, power forward. They got Cody Zeller and Yusuf Nurkic. These are their bigs. So what that means basically is that you're relying on Lillard and McCollum and Powell and whomever else to make shots, because if they don't, they're not getting the ball back.
And I love Powell to death. He'll give it every night on the defensive end.
His defense is going to be really good for them. Yeah,
always there. But offensively, he's not going to have that consistency if you're looking to those 3 guys collectively racking up the majority of your points. He's just not that kind of player.
Yeah.
And that's nothing to say against Norm Powell, because I think he's incredible at what he does. Is what he is on the court, he excels at it. But they need a couple of big guys that were more consistent shooting, more pick and roll action with Lillard. Like, I would love to see that kind of matchup, like him and Joel Embiid. How awesome would that be? I think it'd be really good.
That's what everybody in Philly wants.
It'd be so good.
He's not leaving. He's not leaving. He's not leaving unless Portland moves him. And that will be a very sad day for him.
I know. It'd be a sad day for everybody, but I feel like that's just the destiny for this organization in Portland, unfortunately.
Do you think they could package something with CJ? Because CJ's still a value.
Yeah.
To really turn.
What do you get that answers the problem Portland needs? Losing CJ and getting what with the team that you have? I
feel like Norman can kind of cover CJ's number 2 spot there. Well enough.
Not the shooting. He does not have the shooting.
Yeah, but if
close.
Okay. So if you brought in a big that can also shoot from the perimeter.
Ben Simmons.
They're just so far and few between. I mean, that'd be crazy, but you don't get Ben Simmons unless you give up Dame. Maybe his trade value is going, hey, look at this. Ben Simmons made his way into our podcast again. Maybe you can find a way. Like if his trade stock has gone down though, maybe there's something there. And who knows, maybe, like I'm saying, these kind of fringe teams, Trailblazers, Suns, Clippers, Celtics, Bucks, who are kind of having rocky starts, maybe they start to look at how do we write this thing. And I'm not saying that now's the time to make a move on Ben Simmons, but if they keep going down, they're going to want to do something.
What's the team right now that would do something to get Ben Simmons? I'm looking at the LA Clippers.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, for sure.
So, I mean, we knew going into the season, like this team is going to be fringe playoffs.
You can't
fringe playoffs.
There's nothing that the Clippers have. They don't even have picks to be able to offer anything. They have Kawhi, Paul George. Yeah. They're going to move Paul George to Philly? Ooh. That would make Kawhi a little unhappy, I think. I don't know.
You're out all year, dude, with an injury.
You trade Paul George.
You barely talk to the organization. I mean, maybe. I don't know if I'm going through the looking glass and say this season, okay, 20 games from now, and say the Clippers win maybe a quarter of those 20 games.
Yeah.
I'm in through the looking glass at that point, dude, as Steve Ballmer. And I'm looking at myself in the mirror and I'm like, I gotta do it. I gotta move him. I gotta move him, and I gotta get Ben Simmons, and I gotta roll on this and see what we can do here.
So what else do you give them?
I don't know.
Bledsoe,
I don't know, man.
Jackson.
I'm literally talking out of my ass right now, but this Clippers team really.
Okay. Let's leave the Clippers because there's not much more to talk about. Once you stop talking about Kawhi and Paul George, there's really nothing else to mention, except that Brandon Boston Jr. is going to have a pretty good career, I think. But he's young. Phoenix going to turn this thing around?
Oh, for sure. For sure, dude. They may make it all the way to the finals again. They'll find their identity and their stride. There's some growing pains there. I think some teams last year aren't as caught off guard. They're prepared for this Phoenix team. So it's just adversity, but they'll get through it.
Do you think
as long as they stay healthy?
There's a fracture with DeAndre Ayton and this organization because of the botched contract negotiations?
I would phrase it as like a chip on the shoulder. I think there's definitely DeAndre
something to prove
on his shoulder this year. Yeah, for sure. And discontent with him and Sarver, absolutely. But is this something that can be amended? Is this something that the team can grow collectively? And if, DeAndre has an incredible season this year, you absolutely cannot deny him what he is owed, the bag at that point, man. Like,
well, yeah.
He deserves it now, and he more than deserves it, at that point, or like, for him to go to greener pastures, be an amazing opportunity for some teams. Like, say, for example, Portland would love to have a DeAndre Ayton on their team. Oh my God, like that would make them so much better
if he could shoot. Who else could make them better?
Who?
Jay Crowder.
Yeah.
See, Jay Crowder is like a PJ Tucker.
Oh yeah, man.
They're just cogs that make things work. Yep. They're gritty.
He's the final piece.
They hustle hard. Yeah.
Puts the puzzle together. And yeah.
Like a Draymond. Think Draymond's ever going to move from Golden State?
Maybe very late into his career.
So Golden State's having pretty hot to start 5-1.
I know, dude. 5-1, and the Jazz are 5-1. Like,
listen, you can't put anything past Curry. You never can.
No,
but it's just Curry.
Well, no, it's not just Curry. You got Jordan Poole on that team. He's dominant this year. Double digits, like points per game. Like his usage, everything's gone up. If you look from Jordan Poole last year, so they needed him to be a consistent 3-point shooter. He's delivering.
Okay. Otto Porter Jr. How's he been?
He's doing really, really good too. Yeah, he is. As the other guy was going to say, really consistent. providing decent defense, playing really well off the ball. They're a lethal team. This Golden State is one of those sneaky teams. It's going to get in the playoffs and it's going to like throw some punches at some teams.
It's still so crazy to me that they're this dynasty team that won the last time they won was 3 years ago, right? 4 years ago?
2018, right?
Right. So 3 years ago.
They won 15, 17, and 18.
Okay.
Yeah.
And now I'm not saying they're competing for the championship right now or 6 games in, but this is a team that is still 5-1. They have 3 of their pillars intact. They've got their 4th back in Iguodala. And then they're surrounded by all of these young kids who are like lottery picks. We got James Wiseman, who went 2nd. You've got Mosey Moody.
Moses.
How does Perk say it?
Mosey.
He was top 10, I think, or just after. And then you've got the other guy, Kuminga.
Jonathan Kuminga.
Come on.
Moses Moody. Yeah, man.
It's not fair.
Andrew Wiggins has played really well in that team too. So I like the Golden State team. And once you have Clay come back, and if Clay plays really well, which I feel like he also has one hell of a chip on his shoulder, guy deserves to be top 75 for sure. I'm telling you, man. I'm telling you, they will slap a team. What's that?
They got Gary Payton II. This is Gary Payton, the glove.
This is
his son.
Really? I didn't know that.
And then you got Bielitsa, great shooter. So yeah, not to list the entire roster, but everything looks good on this Golden State team.
Bielitsa is something that the team's never really had before too. That I remember watching the first few games of Golden State, and that guy was everywhere all the time. He does not stop moving. Stop moving. Steph doesn't stop moving. They have a team that does not stop moving, man. They're always available, and it's a really hard team to defend.
That's fantastic.
Really, really hard. So man, they're going to be a great. The Jazz, whatever. It's crazy. They're always so good, but I'm just like, I don't really.
Yeah.
I'm never excited by that team.
I know.
Bulls
6-1. The Ordinary Podcasting Network is excited to announce that we have launched a merch store on our website. The store is full of ordinary swag, including t-shirts, hoodies, and hats. You can pick out something awesome and support your favorite podcast today by heading over to ordinarypodcasts.com.
So the segment is questions for Bray.
Oh, okay.
Questions for Bray? Questions for Bray. All right. So I've got 3 questions for you. They're just takes. They're hot takes. They're questions. Nice. You're not going to see them coming.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
And your reaction around the
shit. All
so
right.
Question number 1, because we were talking about the Bulls. So the Bulls are, if I can grab my paper here, they're 6-1 right now in the East, dominating games, coming back deficits like 19 points and winning games against my Celtics team. A question I have for you, dude. The Chicago Bulls, seeing the start that they have, do you believe in this team being as good as advertised? I know there might be a slight slump, but I'm not saying like this is a team that's going to average out. Do you think this is a team that actually has potential to be, say, a top 4 seed in the East come playoff time?
Definitely. Without a doubt. The fact that they could come back from 20 points in a game that they had no business winning against the Boston Celtics is one level of proof here. The other thing to me, though, is just like it works. Lonzo distributes this ball in such a way that works for these players that they've got. They've got DeMar DeRozan, who just needs a little space. The minute he takes a shot, his percentage is, you can count on that guy. That is a proven vet all-star who is going to make buckets. You got Zach LaVine, who's now loaded with other options around him. He doesn't have to be the guy in Chicago. You got Caruso. Come on. Caruso speaks for himself. This guy knows how to ball and he knows how to win. He's going to do it wherever he goes, and he's doing it in Chicago right now. And then you got Vucevic, who's another vet who is probably thrilled to be playing with his college buddy, DeMar DeRozan. I think that all of this stuff looks good. A little bit, like, I'm a little worried about the depth coming off the bench, those kinds of guys. But if they can stagger their minutes in a way that you can throw, Lonzo back on before the second quarter's over, or you can throw, Caruso can even come off the bench and be a really, really effective player. I just like everything they got. They got Derek Jones Jr., who's a high flyer, rebounder. They've got a lot of the pieces that I think, we're seeing it. They're 6-1. I think it's going to continue.
I can't remember. You were saying Patrick Williams is out for the season?
Yeah, I think he fractured his wrist or he broke his hand or something. So he's going to need some surgery. 4 to 6 months, which is like
still a long time.
Pretty long.
Pretty much the season.
Yeah. And I think he was injured last year too, fortunately. So this guy's he's like a 4th overall pick.
Yeah. Oh, it's so heartbreaking.
Yeah, but you know what? When he comes back, he's going to be he's going to be even more hungry.
I hope best for him.
Yeah.
But man, I believe you, man. Both teams seem
they're 3-0 on the road.
Okay. That's pretty good.
That is great. It's a great start.
All right, question number 2.
All right.
Drum roll. So this was an article that actually I found, which I thought was kind of interesting, and I don't know, maybe call it superstitious of me, but maybe could be akin to some of the lower shooting shots that we're seeing in the league this season.
Okay,
and that is with the basketball itself. So just starting this season. The basketballs, the NBA U's swapped over, which used to be Spalding basketballs, to Wilson basketballs. And so the Wilson basketball is slightly different. And one player even noted about this last night. Paul George made a statement saying, I don't want to make excuses, like he always says, don't want to make excuses, but the Wilson basketball feels different, in the hands. And it's affecting my shot right now. So I wanted to ask you a question for Bray.
This one came out of nowhere.
Do you think Paul George has an argument here? Do you think there's merit to be had? If you're used to having, so like I was just looking up Spalding, they developed basketball since like 1894 or something crazy like that. So to be, growing up, and you're going to go in the NBA and they use a certain kind of basketball. So maybe those kids are using a certain kind of basketball. Now the basketball swapped over.
It's just because of a sponsor. Is that the only reason they just made a deal?
I'm not sure why the contract ended. Okay. Maybe a contract ended and, Wilson had a more lucrative deal and they went that direction.
I'm trying to think if anything like this has happened before. Have they? Yeah. Like when was the last time a basketball switch? I'm trying to think, okay. So in hockey, if you've got a different stick, it's going to feel weird. You've got a specific curve to the the angle on which your blade sits. And then baseball, you've got different weighted baseball bats, but all the balls are the same. So, the difference there is that those are all individual equipment. Each individual player has their own set of equipment. And this is a universal instrument that is used to play this game.
Yep.
I feel like there is a bit of merit here in terms of it feeling uncomfortable or weird. And if you've been in the league for as long as Paul George has, you are, and you're playing every night with the same basketball, you're going to notice a difference. Whether or not this round object should have an impact on whether or not you could shoot it is another story. I don't know, man. This is interesting. Like, are the grips all that much different? What's he saying is the major difference here?
It's the touch doesn't have the same touch.
His touch is off.
Is how he quoted it. You know, he says it's different basketball, don't have the same touch and softness.
But it's got to be the same weight.
The same softness and touch the Spalding ball had.
Maybe he's got to pull a fast one like Tom Brady did and squeeze
the balls,
deflate them a little bit. They'll be a little softer.
So they were saying since 1983, the NBA was using manufactured balls from Spalding. So from 1983 through the end of last season. Now they're being manufactured by Wilson. And this is interesting, dude. Among the players shooting below 30% on more than 8 3-point attempts per game this season. Okay, here are the players: Reggie Jackson, Dame Lillard, Donovan Mitchell, Jordan Clarkson, Jason Tatum, the Wizards' Bradley Beal, and the Pelicans' Nickeil Alexander-Walker. All these players are shooting below 30% so far at the start of these of this season. So I like, you know, as we were talking about, like a lot of guys are missing balls. You know, George also said in this article that, you know, sometimes you'll see these embarrassing shots, like complete air balls.
Yeah.
You know, and he's making that argument that you're seeing these really bad off shots because that, you know, the field is off. Now, none of these other guys so far that I know have said anything about this, but I'll be curious to see. Like,
yeah, I think it's too early to be able to compare the statistics on that. And and then the other part of this is they're just going to have to they're going to have to learn that ball. They're going to have to know how to figure it out because it's not changing. The money's on, you know, the contract's already signed. The Wilson logo's printed. It's I don't know. That's fascinating though. I would never even have thought of that to have an impact the way that it probably is having right now. And then there's like a whole schwack of players that I wonder even know that it's happened. They're like, why am I shooting air balls all of a sudden?
Yeah. Or if you were the fortunate one that had a Wilson ever since a young age, and you're in the league now, and you got all this huge edge in everybody.
Yeah, well, that's just it, right? You start grandfathering it out, but then it's going to change the minute they make the show. As for Paul George, though, I think it's more than just the ball, man.
You ain't buying, you selling.
All
right, question number 3. I'm going to say it to you straight. Does Anunoby's 36 against the Knicks recently, does that spark anything from what we'll see from OG Anunoby this season? I know he has nights where he drops a lot of points in Anunoby's past, but is there potential for this year to see Anunoby take that next step and he becomes a shooter such as this on more of a consistent basis?
So your first question was, does it what?
Does this spark anything?
Yeah. It sparks some tantalizing excitement if you're a Toronto Raptors fan. And that is only because somebody is scoring buckets. I think it's awesome. I think it's really great. And it definitely gives me pause in terms of just wanting to see more. They've had a pretty good start, all things considered, 8 games in, sitting 5-3. Anunoby's averaging 36.5 minutes per game, which is, great. This is kind of what I thought was going to happen is if he stays healthy, we're going to see him on the court more. His defense is just as active. And if his offense can remain just as active, it's going to be really, really great for him. And he's going to, I think the thing with Anunoby is if he just settles in with that confidence and knows that he's going to have a few nights that are just a little off, but if he comes back and he plays just as strong the next night, he's going to develop into the player that we want him to be. And he's, like a 36, 36 points the other night?
36 points.
That's definitely a career high. So if he can just keep mashing that stuff, I remember, when Pascal was having his lights out year in 2019, it was because he was getting the confidence that he needed every night to just go out and, do his thing. I'm sure OG's feeling rejuvenated, having kind of a fresh, having fresh new faces around him. Scotty Barnes is probably really, really great for his game, having a player that's kind of similar in terms of athletic abilities, defensive prowess, and then to kind of be competing with him offensively, I think is really, really great for the team. So I'm stoked for OG. Again, tantalizingly excited.
You wouldn't put all your chips in though quite yet.
On what? On OG being what? MVP?
Well, or like him just, being a player that every night is going to drop 36, or like.
No, not every, no,
like
I wouldn't say every night. No, but I would say in the 20s, I would say he would have some double digit nights quite frequently, like probably 80% of the time. Yeah.
This season?
I think so. And I think it's also going to depend on when Pascal comes back. He's going to want the ball more. So he's taking, those opportunities away from OG. But if OG can keep doing what he's doing, then Pascal's not even going to see that.
That'll be interesting.
It will.
Pascal Siakam for Ben Simmons. Let's go.
Yeah, but then again, it would be nice to have a passer like Ben Simmons. Maybe Boston needs Ben Simmons.
Yeah.
Somebody to pass the ball.
For Marcus Smart, and then Marcus Smart goes to Toronto, and Toronto trades something to Philadelphia, and then you can have Marcus Smart and appreciate him.
We'll give them a bag of all-dressed chips.
Okay. To give away Marcus Smart to somebody else.
Or Marcus Smart, yeah. All right.
Yeah, that was the segment.
Dude, that was a great segment. All of those questions were great. I was very much surprised by every single one.
Good. That was the plan.
Right on. No, dude, I'm stoked about the Raptors start. At least, I don't think they're going to be able to maintain it when they start seeing some of the stiffer competition, but they had a pretty dominant game against the Bulls, even though they lost. They had a nice game the other night against New York. Shit's looking good for them. It's like I said, it's going to be a slow season just in terms of where they're going to be in the standings, but I think they're going to have some pretty great moments. There's going to be some pretty great moments this year for them.
Well said.
Any coaches you think are going to get the axe here?
The axe?
Yeah. Who's the first coach that's going to see a departure? And are we going to see it before December?
Luke Wall in Sacramento.
Okay.
No, I don't know.
For real?
I just always feel like he's the one that's always got his head on the chopping block.
I think Dwayne Casey's going to stick around. Is he going to be able to see it through? He's been there for what, like 6 years?
He's been there for a while. I could see him being there for a couple of years. I mean, he likes a prospected Cade, working with him. So
yeah, he does. But if they're going to just keep losing, they're going to want to find another option. Man. You know what really sucks for Dwayne Casey is that he won the flippin' NBA Coach of the Year and then got fired. Got fired first, then won the Coach of the Year. Now is with the worst team in the league and has been for the last few years. I don't know if he's going to be able to stick it out there. Not for his sake, just that's what happens.
The Wizards, do they still have Sky Brooks? Yeah, I'd put them up there. I mean, they're 5-2 right now, but if the Wizards, start to take a big slump, take a big dump in the Eastern Conference, then I could see, him being at risk. It's crazy. There's a lot of good teams. There's a lot of teams that I know they're intentionally or have the idea they're going to be bad, so they're not going to be as considerate to want to fire, said person.
Right. Yeah.
So it's kind of tricky. Like, I could see the Clippers maybe potentially being at some, considered risk. Like, say if, the Mavericks do really well and they got Jason Kidd and, Portland does really well, then, Ballmer's looking to the rest of the league and maybe he's wanting to make a different decision.
Maybe he'll trade Lou Tyronn Lue for Ben Simmons.
There you go. That's a fair trade. But yeah, I would honestly say always Luke Walton. If there's a next coach to go, that's the coach I think
Luke
that
Walton
needs to go.
I think you're right, man. He's been there for a good long while too, and he's got a bit of a shady history.
Yeah, he's a shadester.
Shadester.
What would you? Is there any other guy you'd say? Or
the only other thing I would say is if the Nuggets start to slide here this season, I think that
really
Denver could look at potentially
really
is the fact that Dallas moved on from Rick Carlisle. And that was a shock.
Well, it was a shock, but it's because of Doncic, and I don't feel good about Jason Kidd on Dallas. I'm just going to say it right now. So I think that would be a boneheaded move, or for Dallas, if that was a boneheaded move. But I think it's a boneheaded move. I mean, I get why they did it.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I'm not saying they're just going to do this if they keep winning. I'm saying if they slide, Jamal Murray's not there. This team could look to a new leader.
It's such a heart to that team, man.
He sure is, dude. He sure is. But so too was Rick Carlisle.
No, yeah, but Rick Carlisle had a system. So too was Dwayne
Casey.
Rick Carlisle had a system, and the system was outdated. So that's why it didn't work with Doncic. So that's why he had to leave.
And Mike Malone?
His system is like, I'm talking with my players. Let's hard it out. Let's lash it out. Whatever you need. He works more cohesively with them. So
why did Dwayne Casey get fired then?
Akin to liking them? Well, because it was obvious, big opportunity. He comes out when you have this big move, and you've got Kawhi coming in, and
but he was moved before that.
Like
any of that
a season before?
No, like in the off season, he was fired right after the playoffs.
But I think the Raptors had something in mind. They didn't know exactly what the opportunity was going to be, but that was the first step, and it opened up kind of Pandora's box to see as to, okay, now we get this other piece. We move. We're gonna strike after Kawhi, and we're gonna really shake up the culture here, and get rid of the old guard and bring in something new. And that was all Masai, and it worked, and it worked for them. I think for this instance with George Karl, if Denver doesn't do well, obviously it's going to be of concern. But it would be unfortunate if he's the one, say they do bad this year and they do bad next year, then I could see that next season that he gets the axe.
So and you're giving him two years on his clock here, unless they succeed, obviously, which is what we want to see. Don't get me wrong. I don't want to see George Karl lose his job here in Denver. He's been a fixture there. But you asked me who could, could I see being the person?
I know. And I think you're crazy. So,
well, between Denver,
here we are.
Okay. Is Miami even crazier?
That's straight up nutter butters. And why even do that when Miami is freaking?
They're 5-1.
5-1 right now. Well. Are you kidding me?
They're doing well. I'm not saying that in success they're going to look
shining bright on the beaches of Miami right now. I'm just saying. I wish I was there. So
they're thrilled. They're thrilled that this is working. Yeah, I
would be too.
Yeah. All right, man. Well, I think we got to wrap it up here.
Yeah, that sounds good. Great start to the season, man. A lot of things to look forward to.
Absolutely. Thanks again, everybody, for tuning in.
Liquid Smoke.
This is the Backyard Basketball Podcast. We will hit you up again next Wednesday. But until then,
peace.